Hello friends, looking at current affairs for 2nd June. The news items picked up from the Hindu newspaper are these 10. We'll look at them in detail. The first one, Ramachandra Guha quits as BCCI administrator. So this is regarding historian and cricket chronicler Ramachandra Guha, who was one of the 4 members of Committee of Administrators. So this Committee of Administrators was appointed by the Supreme Court to administer BCCI. So BCCI is the topmost authority regulating cricket in the country, and after the IPL match fixing cases, this body was appointed by Supreme Court Lodha panel, and this is chaired by chairman is the former Supreme Court Judge Justice R.M. Lodha. So this Lodha panel had given a set of recommendations to reform BCCI. These recommendations were accepted by the Supreme Court, most of them, and they were asked to be implemented under the supervision of Lodha panel. So these were the developments. Lodha panel had recommended that the present board should quit so that a fresh election could take place, new body should be formed, and that should undertake the reforms. But then the president also and its board, the president was Anurag Thakur, so he was not ready to step down, and rather obstruction were brought in the reforms of BCCI. Even a letter was sought from ICC, International Cricket Council, asking them to say that this Lodha panel being formed and Supreme Court looking into this BCCI reforms is interference in the administration of BCCI. So this is not acceptable. So he denied on oath in the court of law that he had not asked for such a letter, but ICC chairman Mr. Shashank Manohar accepted this. He agreed to this, that this had happened. So then after that he was charged of perjury by the Supreme Court and was sacked from BCCI. So finally this committee of administrators has been appointed till the fresh elections are taken and a new body is formed for regulating BCCI. So this is what has happened so far. So this committee of administrators is what you should know about, and the entire background of BCCI. Present news specifically that Ramachandra Guha quit is not important. The background is important. The 4 members, you can see the chairman of this committee of administrators is Mr. Vinod Rai, who is former Comptroller and Auditor General of India. Then the next news item is India's polar ship still a long way off. So India is planning to acquire this polar research vehicle. So it will cost around 1,000 crore rupees. So what is this polar research vehicle? It's an icebreaker, a ship which can cut through ice sheets and glaciers. So we need such a ship for our research stations in Arctic and Antarctic. And we had the government, central government had approved this for acquisition of this polar research vehicle was approved in 2014 itself. So the body which is authorized to acquire this polar research vehicle is Goa-based National Center for Antarctic and Ocean Research. So this is a body under Ministry of Earth Science. So this acquisition was approved, but then in 2015 we were having negotiations with this Spanish shipbuilding company, but it fell through because of escalated costs. The costs were very high. So now again fresh plans have been made to acquire this polar research vehicle. The research stations which we have are in Arctic and Antarctica. In Antarctica we had 3 presently functional, 2 research stations, and in Arctic we have 1 research station. That's the first and only research station which we have. The Arctic research station is Himadri. So this is located at Spitsbergen, which is part of Svalbard, Norway. And in Antarctica, we have 2 research stations. The first one, which was established in 1983, Dakshin Gangotri, was abandoned because it was submerged under ice in 1988-89. So since 1989, we have Maitri station which is functioning. And this Maitri function is now proposed to be rebuilt also so that it can function for another 25 years at least. And the third one, which was the last one to be established, is Bharti, which was constructed and established in 2013. So this is there. Dakshin Gangotri has presently been converted into a supply base. And now another point is that now this initiation of this contract would be done again. So a fresh contract would be floated. So with these changes which are proposed now, because the government has initiated this Make in India policy. So here Indian companies are to be favored. So under this Make in India policy, what happens is if the contract is put to bidding, so everybody is allowed to bid for a contract. So for this contract for polar research vehicle to international bidders, foreign companies, even local bidders can bid. So after the bidding process, it may be so that a foreign company has won the final bidding stage on price. But still, If the Indian company is ready to match that lowest price, then the contract would be awarded to the Indian bidder and not to the foreign company. So this is the advantage which is there, a concession which is provided to Indian company under the Make in India policy. Then the next news item is India-Russia Inc. Nuclear Plant Pact. So this we have been discussing regarding Prime Minister Narendra Modi meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin. So in this context now, what has been decided is one, that Kudankulam nuclear power plant would be gone ahead with. So unit 5 and 6, for these two units, more units to be set up. The much awaited agreement has been signed. So this is one development. Second is the first time a tri-service exercise would take place, means all three services, Army, Navy, Air Force. So this tri-service exercise Indra 2017 will also take place. This will be a joint military exercise between the two nations, Indra 2017. So this Indra series of exercises are undertaken. This will be first tri-service exercise. So that is there. Also joint manufacture of frigates has been finalized on, and even Kamov 226 military helicopters would be co-produced as such. So joint production would be done of these as well. Then another point which was made in the joint statement, vision document, which came forth after the bilateral meet, is regarding ending cross-border movement of terrorists. So this is a statement which was brought forth from Russia too. Then the next news item is file returns or face cancellation. NGOs told. So NGOs have to file income tax returns, otherwise their NGO registrations would be cancelled under FCRA. So the NGOs which are registered under Foreign Contribution Regulation Act and are yet to submit the annual returns have been asked to do so by 14 June 2017. If they fail to do so, then they stand to lose their registration. So this is what the government has announced. A reminder has been brought forth. It was already announced earlier that 14 June is the last date. Already government has cancelled licenses of around 7,500 NGOs in the last 3 years in power. So the point is that they failed to disclose their income and expenditure statements. So this has become important. Even Niti Aayog has been roped in, and NGO portal has been established through Niti Aayog, and all NGOs have to register on this portal if they want to get government funding as such. And for minority NGOs, minority institutions as such, they have to register even if they don't want government funding. So such announcements have already been done, and now a reminder is being brought from the government. It has also clarified that NGOs like Greenpeace, Sabrang Trust, Islamic Research Foundation, and 1,300 other NGOs whose registrations have been cancelled for violating provisions of FCRA Act, for them this is not applicable. Their FCRA licenses would not be given back again. So this is not for them. Then this is regarding FCRA, Foreign Contribution Regulation Act of 2010. This was enacted to make sure that foreign contribution which comes into the country is regulated and is not used for anything detrimental to national interest. So this is the basic purpose of this act, and that is why the government is demanding NGOs to provide their income and expenditure details. So earlier to one NGO which had been prominently in news from USA is Compassion International. So this was an NGO which was put under prior approval list for getting foreign contribution into the country. So this NGO was funding NGOs in the country. And the allegation which government put on them was that they are indulging, the NGOs which they are funding are indulging in religious convergence. So that was the point. Then the next news item is LIGO strikes again, detects third binary black hole merger. So this LIGO is Laser Interferometer Gravitational Wave Observatory. So what does this LIGO look like? It is like this. So this is the laser source. So this laser beam is passed through these tunnels. You can see there are two tunnels at right angles. So this is a beam splitter. Here the beam splits and passes through these two tunnels at right angles. The mirror, it gets reflected here, and that is again passing back. So here the detection is done of these two beams which have returned, and based on whether there is a delay or they come at the same time, this is what is to be observed. Because if there is a gravitational wave passing through, then there will be a difference in their arrival, and that can be detected, and that is how it is said. This is that a gravitational wave has been detected. Now what is this gravitational wave is also important. So this has been predicted by Albert Einstein in his theory of relativity. So this is, according to him, he has calculated this, that if there is a whirling barbell shaped body, like even two black holes as such, so when such a mass spirals together, then it results in ripples generated in space. So you can see these are the ripples generated in space. So these radiated ripples are gravitational waves. So these gravitational waves reach till the surface of the earth too. So that's when this LIGO, you can see there are two LIGO observatories. You can see these two right angle arms shown here. So these are present in USA. One is at Hanford and other at Livingston at around 3002 kilometers apart. So this LIGO observatories have detected gravitational waves now for the third time. So this is when two black holes are merging that this has been detected. So here you can see that LIGO, how does it work to this beam splitter, which we call this the interferometer, that splits the laser beam. So that's how it takes place, that the mirror, the beams recombine as such. So when the beams recombine at the same point, then there is no detection has to be done. But if there is a difference, then that distortion is detected, and that is the gravitational wave which has distorted the beams, and the detection is done. So this LIGO observatory is proposed to be established in India also, and that is called INDIGO. So this is proposed to be done. So USA and India are having these negotiations on this matter too. USA already has two detectors, as we just saw. So a third detector should be far away from both, so that it can form three points as such, in such a way that non-collinear points through which the entire earth can be covered and any gravitational wave can be easily detected. So that has been proposed. Plus also there is an European observatory, LIGO observatory, that's called Virgo. This is based in Italy. So this is also almost in place, and this will also start functioning from late 2017. Then another point mentioned is regarding ESTOSAT. So ESTOSAT is India's space observatory, launched in September 2015. So with this black hole merger, when gravitational waves were formed, related to this event, it also did a sensitive search for detecting short duration X-ray flashes associated with this event of black hole merger, but it did not detect any such X-ray flashes. So that is also mentioned. So you should know about ESTOSAT also. So we already discussed LIGO. This is regarding ESTOSAT. So ESTOSAT is India's space observatory, as I said, launched in September 2015. So it can simultaneously do multi-wavelength observations of various astronomical objects too, using a single satellite. So India became the fifth space agency too, and fifth nation as such, to join this elite club of countries which have, or space agencies which have, space observatories. So they are US, Russia, European Space Agency, Europe, and Japan. So India became the fifth one to have its own with ESTOSAT. Then the next news item is US will withdraw from Paris climate deal, says President Donald Trump. So we have discussed about Paris climate deal yesterday, and how President Donald Trump is a critic of, a skeptic with respect to climate change. He does not believe in climate change to be taking place because of man-made interventions as such too, and greenhouse gas emissions. It's a natural phenomenon. So that is why he does not want America to take the burden of combating climate change too. So that is why USA has been, he has announced that USA will withdraw from the Paris Climate Accord, to which the accession was done by Barack Obama, the former president of USA. So he had ratified Paris Climate Accord. So President Donald Trump says that this accord is partial because there is discrimination. Differentiation is part of this Paris Climate Accord, because you cannot treat developed and developing countries on the same scale, because developing countries are going to start their developmental activities will peak later, and developed countries have already peaked. Their emissions have also peaked, so they will not be having high emissions presently, is what is understood. So now what is expected is USA wants India and China to be at the same level playing field with USA, though they are developing countries. So this is not acceptable. The internationally accepted norm is that developing countries have to be facilitated. Their development cannot be stalled. They are also on the same path of development and trying to become developed nations. So you cannot stall them, and they would be provided assistance, because developed countries have already established clean technologies, clean energy technologies. So this better technology and also funding has to be provided by developed countries to developing countries. So this is a point put forth by America, by US President Donald Trump that these are unfair terms. So India, under its INDCs too, nationally determined contributions under Paris Climate Agreement, it has been mentioned that we will fulfill all these obligations provided we receive funding. So that is billions of dollars of funding which is expected for implementing those provisions. So that is not to the liking of US and President Donald Trump. So this is there. And also we have discussed yesterday. So Russia was the only country which had not ratified Paris Climate Accord, and now with this US announcement, if this is done, then USA and Russia will be two of the world's industrialized countries rejecting combating climate change. So this is it. What steps would be taken? How would this be gone ahead with? Whether he would be formally withdrawing from the Paris Climate Accord. So this formal withdrawal will take time because the whole process has to be completed. Or he's also spoken of renegotiation with the deal. So the deal can be changed to his liking. So we'll see what further steps take place in this matter. He's calling the deal unfair. Then the next news item is Saudi Russia deterrent heralds new oil order. So this is regarding the two major oil exporting countries, Russia and Saudi Arabia. So these two are rivals. Saudi Arabia is a member of OPEC, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries, and Russia is a non-OPEC member. So these two countries have been rivals, because of which the major oil importing nations had benefited, including India. But now we are seeing the two nations cooperating. They have presently come together and are discussing possible ways to cooperate in Asia, the Asian markets, including India, Indonesia. So India is also a huge oil importer. So the rivalry as such was beneficial for us. But now we are seeing the two nations cooperating. Even at the time when the oil prices globally had fallen quite low in mid-2014, when US shale oil production had increased a lot. So at that time also there was virtually no dialogue between these two major oil exporting nations, Russia and Saudi Arabia. But now we are seeing that the relations are warming up. So this is presently the news. Also, they have earlier in December 2016 decided to have a pact to cut oil output globally. So what is done is OPEC is also a cartel. A cartelization basically means you coming together, all the producers coming together of any commodity and trying to regulate the market, control the market. So actually you cannot fix the prices. Prices are market determined. In global markets, whatever are the prices, but you can control the production. So based on how much is present in the market, the prices on the market would be. So demand is static. If you change the supply, then prices would change automatically. So that's what they do. So they increase or decrease the output depending on what steps they want to take. So here, this was a Jan 2017 deal between the OPEC and non-OPEC members. They had decided to come together and reduce the oil production to control the market, to let the prices go high. Because global oil prices had gone low and all of them were affected because of this. So here you can see the OPEC and non-OPEC members are shown and how much cut they had approved in Jan 2017. So OPEC members are shown in bold, like prominent OPEC members, Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, UAE, Iraq, even Iran is an OPEC member, Ecuador, Venezuela, and Russia is a major non-OPEC member. Russia, Mexico, these are non-OPEC members. Then the next news item is manipulation probes by SEBI hits a new high. So SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India, has enhanced its regulation and monitoring of the stock markets. So it had in March 2017 ordered that Reliance Industries and 12 other entities have to be barred from the equity derivatives market for 1 year. And even directed them to provide amount of almost 1,000 crore because of manipulation. So these manipulation charges were imposed on many entities as we see here. So this is showing that the SEBI regulation has increased. The number of cases have also increased. Many cases related to manipulation with respect to even global depository receipts, mutual funds. So specifically for what purpose is manipulation being mentioned, that has not been detailed out. Collective investment schemes are also there. So this is what we see through SEBI report presently too. And SEBI has also strengthened as such. Its powers have increased. It has also provided for internal alerts as such. Stock exchanges have to provide information to SEBI, and these internal alerts as such are generated too. SEBI has hired professionals from top institutions and increased its capacity to better handle such cases too. So this manipulation cases in stock markets, they result in the investors suffering, the individual investors suffering because of these companies and such collusive actions which are taken by these companies. So this is there. The next, pact system needs review. So this is regarding international investment agreement system. So these international investment agreements are being proposed as such, under which a major provision is investor state dispute settlement mechanism. So this ISDS means investor is a foreign investor in a country, state means the country, the government of that country. So investor states may have dispute, a foreign investor in the home and the national country. So this dispute settlement should take place through international arbitration. So that is ISDS mechanism. What it emphasizes on is international arbitration. So this generally is having a pro-investor bias, because the nation's avenues are not exhausted. It need not go through the internal judicial process in the country, but it will go for international arbitration. So generally they look into the interests of the investor, but not the interest, means they're trying to safeguard the capital, protect the return on the capital. But what about the indigenous people who are associated with that investment, the labor involved, the migrants involved, the consumer involved? So those are, their interests are also important, is what this is an article highlighting as such. So India is also against this. We have also been dragged for international arbitration by Vodafone case, which we have lost to. So this has been a huge embarrassment, because of which even a bilateral investment treaties with various countries have been allowed to lapse. Even the taxation dispute settlement treaties which we had, in this also this provision has been FTAs, free trade agreements, which we had with various countries like Mauritius, etc. Here also changes are being proposed so that this provision can be taken care of. A model BIT has also been formulated. This we have discussed earlier too. So based on this, with respect to Germany, we had discussed this. So based on this, then BITs would also be finalized, so that national avenues, local avenues have to be exhausted. Then only you can go for international arbitration. That is what India wants. But the developed countries, including China, Brazil, Australia, these countries are emphasizing on this investor state dispute settlement mechanism, and this is what investment facilitation agreement is all about, which is a proposal before the WTO, World Trade Organization, so that all nations can accept it, and then it would be binding on all nations. So this is being endorsed by various developed countries. Then the next news item is the last one. TRAI floats consultation paper on data speed. So TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, so it's again a regulatory body. It has floated a consultation paper on data speed. So when wireless broadband plans are proposed by various telecom service providers, they sell it like using in the name of technology, like 2G, 3G and 4G. But then what is the speed, data speed, which they are providing under these plans, and how much speed do the users get, the consumers get, is a concern, because there have been many consumer complaints which have come forth regarding low speed on these broadband plans. So now TRAI has floated this consultation paper that how the service providers should guarantee the consumers about speed with respect to these services too, because even with respect to technologies, consumers are not aware about the differences as such in these technologies and what speed they would get on them. So this is a step taken by TRAI in this matter to safeguard the interests of consumers. So that is it. Thank you.